With Isabella from dappOS, I'm very excited to have you. I'm thrilled to get into how dappOS is used in some of the big dexes and swaps that are out there. Super excited to learn more about it. So, Isabella, why don't you give us a brief introduction and the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Nathan. And hi, everybody. This is Isabella from dappOS. I'm the co-founder of dappOS, and dappOS is a Web3 protocol that manages the crypto infrastructure between users and blockchains, and to make this process easy, convenient, and efficient. And today I'm really happy to be here and talk about how to enable Web2-like user experiences in Web3, because we all know that this is the big pain in the ass for everybody now. And it's the main or the biggest bottleneck for Web3 to onboard the next billion users. So, before I get started into anything, let me just ask some quick questions. Even though we all know that we need more users, but do we really know what is the gap like between user volumes between Web 2 and Web 3? So, does anyone have idea how many month active users does TikTok have?
I think they have 500 million active, or maybe
100 million. Okay, that's about half. So TikTok actually has 1 billion monthly active users. And do you know how many monthly active users does MetaMask have?
monthly active. Let's say 300,000.
300,000. Okay. Okay. That's pretty underestimating that. So MetaMask, as one of the most popular wallet for Web3, has 21 million monthly active users. So it's like 1 billion and 20 million. So this is the gap and this is the difference. And even inside Web3, the user volume can also vary greatly between CeFi and DeFi. So in the past 24 hours, how do you know what is the user volume for Binance?
Great question. I have no idea.
Okay, I'll give you a number. It's 15 billion. 1 5.
In transaction volume.
Yeah. It's yeah. And do you know what is the number for Uniswap?
I have no idea.
You can guess.
I'm very bad at this. I just asked GPT.
Okay. So for V2 of Uniswap, it's 80 million. For V3, it's 1 billion. So there's a 15 times differences between CeFi and DeFi. So all of this, why is that? Like, what is the reasons that makes the volumes so different, like vary so much? So today, that's what I want to discuss with you all today. And to start with, on a very high level, Web3 is very fragmented. I get a fragmented word so far. Take UI as an example. There's a little standardization in the app design. And since there's no single governing body or set of standards that dictate how we should develop the apps, how we should build, and how they should interact with each other, developers have a lot of freedom in designing the apps, but this also leads to the inconsistency and confusion for users who may have to learn a lot of new things when they use new the apps or enter a new public chance. And despite the fragment, there are two more major difficulties for users to join Web3. So one is the confusing account, and the other is the complicated workflows. So
Yep.
for the confusing account logic, which often involves complexity of the underlying blockchain technology, in Web3, users are required to interact with the blockchain in order to perform any action or a DApp, such as sending a transaction or executing a smart contract. And all of this will require a basic understanding of blockchain concepts such as public and private keys, gas fees, smart contracts, and which can be really daunting for non-technical users. Like for example, to set up an account in Web3, I have to remember 16 random words, or I just lose my account and lose all my money. This is so counterintuitive for users who are already used to Web2, like Web2 apps, right? And the other challenge is the complicated workflows. For example, the apps often require users to perform several steps before they can execute anything. Anything. Like for example, users may need to connect their wallet to the D app, which involves entering their private key or seed phrase, and then wait for the transaction to be confirmed on the blockchain. And there will be multiple steps of confirmations, and this whole process can be just confusing and time consuming, and can discourage users from using the app. Even liquidity mining is one of the simplest tasks in Web3. This will take 5 steps for new users. And if the apps are on different chains, things will be much worse, often taking more than 10 steps and over 60 clicks. Each step has a very long pending time. So here maybe so for dappOS is a solution that particularly works under a scenario that help users to use a D app on a different chain. So maybe Nathan, could you help us play the video of the long video of how users, yeah, how users can use dappOS to interact with Perpetual, which is the DeFi protocol on optimism. So here, this is an example of a BNB users using Perpetual without switching network, without any extra steps. The first part of this video is showing what is a traditional way of BNB users to use Perpetual, and it's just very long. So you see, you will have to select a bridge to migrate USDC and you go to this bridge. And for new users, they probably don't know what is bridge, and they have to learn about bridge. They have to learn all the technical concepts there, and they have to switch their network because they were previously not on this network, and they have to select a token, and they have to confirm the operations to bridge USDC to Optimism. And this takes time. Yeah, and once they bridge so they find out they don't have USDC, so they have to convert BNB to USDC on some DApps such as PancakeSwap, and this is another step. And you see, it's
this is the nightmare scenario for a normal person.
This is like clicking as crazy and confirming everywhere, and you know what? Not a lot of people might not even know how to do this in the first place. Like, what if they do not? Like, I'm not familiar with PancakeSwap. I'm not familiar with other swap. This is just so unfriendly to users, especially for new users.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And you see, okay, it's swapping BNB to USDC now. And now they have USDC, and okay, it takes time for the transactions, okay. Okay, now they have USDC and on the BNB chain, and they will have to use the bridge to bridge this to Optimism.
Yep.
Uh, hey Nathan, do you think it's a good idea? Let's just
Yep, fast forward it.
let's
It's a
just
nightmare.
it's, let's not torture all the audiences here, especially those without the video. They're just listening to this.
Okay, so is this the solution to the problem?
This is the traditional way.
Okay, we're still in the traditional way.
Well, yeah, this is still the traditional way. It's
Oh
still
man, we're like 10 minutes into this thing.
exactly. So the other video, can you play that? It's only 1 minute.
Yep, great. Here we go. All right, here we go.
Is the video playing? I think
Yep.
I think it's my presentation is playing. No?
No, it's the video's playing.
Okay, nice. So this video is only 1 minute. The last video that we didn't finish playing is 13 minutes. So for the 30-minute video, that is how people, how a BNB user use Perpetual on OP without dappOS solution. But with our solution, you can just deposit and sign and confirm. And the transaction will succeed on both BNB and OP, and then you can use it.
Amazing.
So yeah, so this is how dappOS help user to use the app on another chain. And you may wonder why I don't have to swap USDC, why I don't have to bridge, why I don't have to do any of this myself. The answer is because dappOS helps users do all of this automatically. And this is just one of the use cases we have for this OP perpetual example. We make the complication 19 times less. Like previously, you have to click for 76 times, but now you only click for 4 times. And the time you execute all of this is reduced 12 times.
Yeah, it's
Previously,
amazing.
thanks. Previously, you have to spend 12 or 30 minutes. I mean, that is on the condition that you know what you need to do and you know how to do it, and it still takes 12 minutes. Think about a new users. It will only take long, maybe hours to do this.
Oh
And
yeah.
you know what? They just don't do it. They just leave. They just quit. So that's the reason why there's still much fewer users in Web3 compared to Web2.
Also, private key management is still so difficult for most people.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is why so many people got wrecked in FTX. Right?
Yeah, that's a sad truth. Yeah. So if people are interested, there you can go to dappos.com/use cases to find more use cases like this. We now have already partnered with over 20 the apps on basically all the chains like Polygon, BNB, Avalanche, Optimism, Claim, Kava, KCC, ZK6. So we almost covered all the major L1, L2s. And on this website, you can see some selected partners, including GMX and Banky, the largest lending protocol on Avalanche, Pangolin, CableSwap, QuickSwap. Those are all using our solutions, and we see a huge improvements in the user experiences, and we see an increasement in the user volumes and transaction volumes, even in the spare market.
Where can you share with us some metrics?
Yeah, I can. I can talk about Banky. Banky is the largest lending protocol on Avalanche and is only on Avalanche. And do we had a marketing campaign which let me see, let me pull out the numbers. Want to be very accurate. Yeah, so during the campaign, we brought over about 500 distinct new users, and the peak volume was at 500,000. And actually, the numbers are still has great potential to grow, but because we were setting a limit on the transactions, like we only set the transactions up to 2,000 or 3,000 USDC. So because we that was a pilot version we launched, and we want to make it safe and stable for that initial launch. Yeah, and when we collaborated with Perpetua, I remember at peak we increased their daily transaction volume by 60%. Yeah, I think you're
Amazing.
muted, Nick.
Amazing.
Yeah. Thanks. That's what I want to hear.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And and maybe can I talk a little bit? You're the founder as well, and you're, I mean, to give you an idea of how rare female founders are in the space. Like we have 29 speakers that's even submitted for the speak at the summit, and only three of the 29, so that's about 10% are female founders. What's your experience been like in the space in that regard?
Yeah, it's definitely not easy, I'd say, but maybe being a founder itself is not easy, regardless if you're male or female. But I definitely face more subconscious bias towards female founders in my um, just along the way. And sometimes it's not that obvious, like people just judge you in front of your face, but they're just those subconscious bias that people have towards female or minority founders that makes it even harder. Sometimes I feel I have to pay more, to get the equal recognition for things I have done. I think that's just like the reality.
Understood.
And yeah, it's definitely challenging. But I think it at the same time it gives it gives me higher, more more how to say, like it sometimes gives me pressure, but sometimes also motivates me to work harder to get the recognition. And I feel once you achieve some levels, like people, if there are more people that recognize you, and those bias will gradually fade. It won't disappear, but it will. You so in one word, you have to create an environment for yourself that people respect you more, and they see what you've got. And you have to be tough and stay on the table as long as you can. I think that's the only advice I have for females, and also for those girls who might have an attractive appearance. Don't let people don't let yourself get disappointed at people who are only seeing your appearances. People does that. It does. They do this, but don't get disappointed at them, and just focus on what you want to deliver and what you want to accomplish.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Would you when did you found the company, and what was your experience like getting to mainnet?
Yeah, yeah. Prior to dappOS, I was a software engineer in Bay Area, and I have I have a bachelor and a master of computer science. So I've always been like in the technical role, and doing all this research and the projects and coding and things like this. And when I was in Bay Area, I also do some angel investments myself in early stage startups. So I did some startup like investments in both Web2 and Web3. I also invest in an AI company recently.
Nice.
Yeah. So I really like talking to those founders of early stage startups. They are bold. And where is Nathan?
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to give you some more space there and less space to the dead screen.
Appreciate it. Yeah, so I have a lot of so I also made a lot of friends during this investment journey, and then I found when I found out dappOS, I actually met the other co-founder earlier, and when he told me that he's working on this project or just had an idea without a product, I think this was amazing because I'm always a technical person, and I do believe the potential and the innovation of Web3 and how it can, revolutionize our current world. And I also invest in crypto companies myself, so I do believe the philosophy here. And I always want to do something, get some hands-on experiences and really build something. So when I know about this idea, I think this is amazing because I think Web3 has now come to a time where we need more users and where the user adoption is the biggest problem now. And I want to contribute to this trend. Maybe after 10 years, maybe there are even more Web3 users than Web2. Maybe in some vertical or in some category, we have more users than Web2. And I want to be part of the power in realizing that in the future.
Thank you. That's great. How long did it take for you to get to mainnet from when you started?
Yeah. So actually, dappOS is not a D app.
Is it
We
sort of a router?
we provide SDK.
Right. What I mean is,
Again,
like,
our
what I
first
mean, what I mean is from not literally like a mainnet, but like the general directional idea of being live as an SDK.
I see. I think it took about 3 months to 4 months.
That's really short. That's great.
Because my co-founder is a serial entrepreneur and he had multiple successful exits before in both Web2 and Web3. He was the CTO of Alchemy Pay, which was listed on Coinbase and Binance.
Yeah, amazing.
So he had very solid background both technology and also business in Web3. So we built the first product very quickly, and Optimism was a previous partner of my co-founder's previous project. So the collaborations went easy.
Amazing.
Yeah. So that's how we had our first customer based on the previous, the trust they built previously. And we launched Perpetual just as you see in the video, I think last October or so. And
Yeah, it's amazing.
yeah, we
Uh,
now have more than 20, so feel free to try them all.
yeah, yeah. Like what I find confusing as still in Web3 after years is the UX in Cosmos itself. Like there's 60 different zones, and for us as Landslide, because we're building IBC connection to Avalanche, like it's so confusing to users. I guess I should say to new users that would be like our first SDK integration should be with dappOS. Are you guys live on any Cosmos chains?
Cosmos, we now are developing our V2 version, which will go live very quickly. And I've let me see. So for the V2, it's an SDK that any D app EVM compatible can just directly use them.
Yeah,
And
we're not EVM.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah,
and yeah, so that is for the EVM one, and after that is launched, we are moving towards other ecosystem like Cosmos.
cool.
Yeah, definitely Cosmos is our on our list.
Great. Yeah, they're you should reach out to Kepler. I'm sure they'd love to decrease their friction.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Those I think you have to have enough users to to do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, we also work with DeFi kingdoms actually.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
saw that. So, they were hit by a bridge hack. Like what's the experience what's the reported experience that DFK users can share with you?
So we are so because DFK has their own chain, right? So we have to create the whole um the UI, the front end stuff for DFK. It's closing to an end, and we'll announce it soon.
Got it. Great. Yeah. That's probably the subnet with the most amount of users
Exactly.
currently. Yeah. Um, I mean, the other great integration for you guys would be Spruce, that release that just happened, because that's like as bad as it is for you, like normal, sort of normal degens. Like the institutional side is just even worse, because they have a certain threshold of all. I mean, all their assets have to be custodied, has to be in BitGo, and that whole chain of transactions for them is just as confusing. In fact, in some cases, institutional clients are used to worse UX.
Exactly. I remember when I went to East Denver, um, the BD head of Uniswap, Mihi, also my friend, she made a presentation on we are already at the point of majority user adoption. That
Yeah,
is after we have already adopted those, who has technical knowledge,
yeah,
who are willing to learn new
yeah,
things. We have
yeah.
already consumed all this
Totally,
up.
totally. There are no more degens. I
You
totally
want-
agree. And a lot of them went broke recently because they leveraged themselves to the hilt, or they didn't manage their private keys, or they aped into the wrong, rug stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, so there are no more. And like, w- how does dappOS view the U.S. regulatory environment as it relates to the current, UX UI?
Mm, sorry, could you repeat your question?
Yeah, so like, this is coming out of like that we don't have any more users, right? And part of the reason we don't have any more users is because of the U.S. regulatory environment is so hostile right now to most crypto projects. Like, what have you found? Um, how has this affected you?
Mm, yeah, I definitely feel the question is a bit hard. I'm not sure if I am qualified enough to, you know, say anything about the US regulatory because I think even the biggest protocols they are very careful at the moment. Dealing with all this regulatory things. I think just from the user's perspective,
That's
they
what I'm talking about.
yeah, first they want it to be safe, and the second they want it to be easy. So I guess what dappOS does for users' need is that we make things as easy as it could be, and and we are also a decentralized network, so we don't hold users account, and we
Right. It's
don't hold,
non-custodial.
yeah,
And
it's
you're
not.
not and you're not holding keys, and you're not processing transactions.
No.
Great. Yeah, so then, I mean, as far as dappOS goes, you should be pretty safe. It's just essentially an SDK.
Yeah, and I feel like the regulatory, they I think sometimes their target are more like the whales, those who have billions of assets on chain. But in reality, if we want to bring more people aboard, I mean, a lot of people just transact for like a few hundred, a few thousand
Right.
dollars, right? And I believe it's just uh, the current infrastructure are safe enough for supporting transactions at this amount. So that I think just most users should not be worried about regulatory.
I agree with that. It's just very like the New York Times has a narrative, the Wall Street Journal has a narrative, right? You know, ABC has a narrative, Fox News has these narratives, and that trickles down to users. And you know, we all want everything to go to the moon, but it even if we get another 500,000 users or million users, it won't really matter if they don't bring a lot of capital. And all the capital right now is on the institutional side, and it's sitting on the sidelines because there's no clear regulatory environment.
Yeah, definitely. But I
But
do believe that having things regulated is essential and can do
totally.
the good in the long term. And I totally respect that.
Oh yeah, of course. There's no way to operate, in this environment without that. That's why it's exciting that Avalanche released
Mhm,
Spruce as an institutional, basically a KYC subnet. Um,
mhm.
People will want to run, degenerates will want to run screaming for the hills about KYC subnet, but that's the reality of permissioned lending. So can't.
Yeah.
I'd love to dive in a little bit about your experience with BNB if you want, or the Binance accelerator if you'd like to talk about that.
So the Binance Lab incubation program.
Right.
Yeah, so we got into the season 5, which is the just finished the latest one, and we got accepted last year. I think there were about 12 projects out of over 900 applications, so it was like 1.2% acceptance rate. This
Nice.
is this rate
Right.
is even smaller than my college admission rate.
Yep.
Yeah, super honored and super happy to be accepted and doing the incubation. I think it definitely helped the project to grow more. We hired more people, and we collaborated with more partners. We also attended some sessions that Binance host for us. They invited some great speakers and founders, and for us, to chat and to communicate. And yeah, I think all of these are super valuable, and I would recommend, if you're working on the early stage ideas, don't hesitate to just shoot them an application.
Awesome. Do you want to take some questions from the audience?
Yeah. I think this session we have 4 minutes for this session, right?
Oh no, we can go as long as you want.
I actually have a meeting.
Oh, okay, great. So I'll ask them if there are anyone folks in Twitter who have questions, please throw up a hand, and we'll invite you to ask a question. Otherwise, we can take closing thoughts from you.
Mhm.
I don't see any folks with questions, so why don't you give us some closing thoughts?
Yeah, of course. So back to the topic of this session, enabling Web2-like user experiences Web3. In conclusion, this is the crucial step in realizing the full potential of this exciting new technology of crypto. And by providing users with familiar and intuitive experiences, we can accelerate the adoption of Web3 and drive the innovation in the decentralized web. And follow us on Twitter, dappOS _com. Sorry, don't follow the fake ones. There are recently some phishing accounts on Twitter. So make sure to follow the correct one, or go to our website like www.dappOS.com, and we have all the handles there.
Great. Thank you so much, Isabel. This was great. We look forward to using dappOS in Landslide. So thank you so much for your education.
Thank you so much. Let's keep in touch, and I'll let you know whenever our SDK will be applicable on Cosmos. And
Wonderful.
yeah,
Great. Thanks,
thank
guys.
you.
Thanks, Isabella.